Hello and welcome, and I want to talk about using cryptocurrencies as a measure to basically increase your silver stack or your silver portfolio, as that was always the reason for the last couple of years or a year before I started playing the cryptocurrency game that I was very interested in it, because I knew back then that, well, if I get into Bitcoin, or if I know that I have it and I have some, I can always get silver with it. So that's always a good thing, because I noticed at least my local online bullion dealer was accepting cryptocurrencies. Okay, so that was one of the main reasons I decided to get in. And I'm going to talk about that in a little while, but there are so many methods for profiting in games that I call gambling, where you can have a long-term edge. Let's talk about gambling on cards. You can go play live casinos on the internet. There we have it. We have, don't know what Dreamcatcher is, but I know what Blackjack is, and you can actually profit on that game. I'm going to talk over the next minute about it. Baccarat, roulette, those are games you cannot win on long term. And they have all these beautiful women on here to help. I guess they have beautiful women working there, and I guess they do. But if I click on the play for Blackjack, this is what comes up. I mainly see guys or men working. There's a woman here and there's a woman here, and they look pretty nice. Everyone's dressed professionally, but these are online casinos where these are real people, real tables, real cards in front of a video camera, where you would place your bets, and then your results would get paid to you electronically like any online account would. The thing is, however, you can count the cards. And I'm going to quickly go over my counting system, talk about that, and then back to the crypto game. And I went over this via a computer program. And the traditional high-low system states that if a card numbered deuce through 6 comes out, it's a +1 to the count, and any 10 paint or ace is a -1. I changed it a little bit, and I count every single card. If it's not the 10 paint or ace, then it's a +1, deuce through 9. If it's a face card, -1, and an ace, -4. You know, I planned on making a book, and I'm not going to anymore. I was going to name it Ace's Rule, because so many card games, aces do rule, and Blackjack most certainly is the case, because the value of what a high count of aces available to you compared to face cards is tremendous. So I simulated playing counts, traditional versus high-low, and what I figured out was that this did a better job at indicating better card shoes that are left, and even worse ones for that matter as well. However, the game of Blackjack also can have very large volatility, and you're lucky if you can even scrape 1.5% return. And that's even going on these online sites and only playing when you have a rich deck, and it is just not fun to keep on waiting and waiting for the count. This game I like so much better, the crypto game, to buy the silver. So as I look at this, when you are, let's just talk about just key things about buying silver even 10 years ago, before cryptos even existed. Like anything in life, it's always getting in what you can afford. With all investments, it's always about making the smartest decision based on what you have and trying to be as well diverse as you can. So if you are already fortunate enough to have a decent investment portfolio, we'll say at least 6 figures or at least even high 5 figures, that it really isn't all that difficult to allocate even just a small amount into the game. And if you're very cautious, that's exactly why I like the small amount. But when it comes down to the trading aspect, because small can grow to very big with this volatility, especially when you understand the law of compounded gains. But understand how you can achieve such a system that can ensure long-term edge and then execute for small amounts to start. For if you are good enough to be able to count cards and work with a proper betting system, of course a betting system, bankroll management, and how much you place during the situations, then it takes a good amount of mathematics and really discipline to control such to be able to win. And the same thing is here. So when you understand mathematical ways, and there are so many ways in which you can prepare for profits, then it can achieve large growth amounts. And that's exactly what I did. I could have started with a larger amount. I do not regret that I didn't, but the results can work well. For myself, this is how I have transitioned. I started with a 3-figure amount 12 months ago. Took me a month to get into a 4-figure. Couple months later to get into 5 figures after that. And then just recently, a few months ago, it's been in a 6-figure mode. Later this year, I expected to reach the 7. And meanwhile, because of these moves, I've been able to buy a decent amount of silver here and there, while maintaining mathematical level which can keep the crypto game going. I look at preparing for any type of major losses if something goes way down or to nothing by just selling on peaks. Thus, if worst case scenario comes in, I've used the cryptocurrencies in the game of life to buy real things like gas for the vehicle, groceries, and of course real physical commodity like the silver, which of course is a continuation or change in the investment. Because I look at stuff like taking Bitcoin and turning it into physical silver the same as it is like Bitcoin turning it into Ethereum. It's just changing it to one asset class. The only difference is if I buy Ethereum, I can just change it back and forth really quick. It's not so easy with the physical silver game, and you know what? There's a part of me that likes it that way. But with these games that you can win, crypto trading, blackjack, hard to win, but it can be done. Playing online poker, playing live poker, betting on professional sports. Mathematically, when you know what you're doing, edges can be received. And when such is the case, that to me is, that's positive advantage gambling, as it is known by some of the professionals in gambling, of course. And I put up a altcoin because when you can understand the ebb and flow of how these markets can move up and down as they do, there is a lot of profitability that can be available. Of course, there's always the risk situation. And that's why when I stated if you really aren't sure, maybe you don't know if maybe you think you're mathematically good enough, but when the game comes to real time, you don't know how it's going to work out and you have some cautionary levels within. That's exactly why taking what I would consider small amounts that you would normally have, just stuff you could afford to lose, enough that you could, if you wanted to, I could have some fun and have a good time out, and I think it's still good to do such, but if you have that extra allocation where it's mathematically possible to have extreme gains from low starting sizes. But when it gets down to it, whether you do such and then it grows large because of trading skills and cryptocurrencies going higher, or if you just start with a very decent size bankroll to begin with, it becomes very important then to be able to manage it successfully Because even if you started with practically nothing and you turn it into something, well, whether you had, whether how you, or what you started with before means absolutely nothing. It's about what your value is at that point. Because if you look at it on a level, if you were just starting out today and you invested a decent amount like that in, you sure as heck would want to be very focused in your game plan. So whether you win it or whether you start with a large amount, it becomes very important to have a very, very sound game plan.